Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Interjections podcast, the Undiscovered Decade, a podcast where we look back 30 years into the 1990s and try to find the hidden gems of the decade, month by month. We're up to July 1993, and I have two reasons I think Corey picked this one. Interesting film. There's a woman who's murdered in a business downtown LA. It's a Japanese business, so people from Japan have interest in keeping things quiet and fast. And then they send in two detectives that are experts, possibly in Japan. One definitely an expert, played by Sean Connery. The other, Wesley Snipes. This is the thriller Rising Sun, which you can imagine is pretty good title for a film about murder and Japan. So, what do you think those two reasons are?
So I have
one is the author. Know that.
Yeah, what's the other one?
You have a crush on Tia Carrera?
It's Michael Crichton, by the way. So two months in a row, Michael Crichton had his novels adapted for the screen. This one did not do as well as Jurassic Park, but
it did pretty well considering.
It's one of our better hidden gems. So in this regard, it's more of a I never knew Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes did a movie together at this point. You know,
a buddy cop movie,
right?
So, are they buddies though?
Are they buddies?
Yeah, not really.
No, they're not buddies. It's a mentor student. It's a senpai and a kohai.
I need to start. True. I need to start off with a story though, because you're underselling the beginning of this movie.
Oh, right.
So
the beginning's confusing.
I
honestly, yeah,
it's confusing. I was on a flight out for a job earlier this week.
Did you do it on the way there?
I was trying to watch the movie on the plane.
Or on the way back.
I turned it on, and 2 minutes in, there's a sex scene, and I'm like, I can't do this. There's people around. This is I'm not going to be that guy.
Wait, you missed it. Yeah, but something else happened. Before that sex scene.
Brad next to you?
What?
Before that sex scene, there was a Western, and I thought I was watching the wrong movie.
Yes. That was kind of cool.
It was a karaoke music video.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a nice.
I forgot about that.
Misdirection was so weird.
Yeah, unnecessary, but I did like.
I think it was a way. I think it was a way of saying it's like this is not going to be your typical Western.
Right. It's basically
cop genre.
It's an Eastern.
Yeah.
It's an Eastern Western.
But So
I've always wanted that to happen, where there's some other thing happening, and you're actually watching a movie with the characters you're going to care about. So.
Right.
It's unprecedented, and then when it happened, they never go back to it. So it was kind of weird to have a film within a film.
It sort of taught me not to ever do that, actually.
Yeah, because I feel like imagine you buy your ticket, you wander in the first 2 minutes, you're like, I'm leaving. Clearly, I'm in the wrong theater.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you change the reel?
Yeah.
Right.
There's gremlins in the booth.
Yeah.
The way this is paced at the beginning is very odd because it comes off. There's even like Saturday morning cartoon wipes across the
screen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and
the editing is strange.
I was also confused with the tone of the movie when they started off with like the political part, when they started showing like, oh no, Japan. I'm just like,
are we still mad about World War II?
Yeah, we got them pretty good. There's like, we shouldn't be afraid of the Empire coming back. Like that was a weird one. I was like, is this are they? It's like setting the Japanese up like the North Koreans of today, because like the Cold War just ended, so it's like What are
And
they
you gotta
getting at?
think.
And like, I also have like in my memory, from like when I was like in high school, I found like newspaper clippings my grandmother had, and she had
Right.
one of the Berlin Wall coming down, and it was a few years after the fact, and the political like climate was like, should we keep the Germanys divided so that way they don't come back to power and try to conquer the world? Like people were all of a sudden afraid of that again. So it was like,
I
is,
mean,
is this is this the post Cold War era, like where we're looking back to the old bad guys and like they're not a threat?
It kind of feels
you
like
gotta you gotta think about the filmmakers. Like Michael Crichton's born in the early 40s. Philip Kaufman, the
Yeah.
director, is born in 36. So they're definitely a product of their parents being fearful of the Axis
Yeah.
powers,
and,
So I could see that.
But then like later on in the movie, that was that came up, that actually ended up being kind of a red herring to get in the mind, like to get us to think like, oh yeah, maybe the Japanese are the bad guys, but like
Mhm.
not really.
The movie itself's kind of xenophobic towards Americans and Japanese.
Yeah.
well, it's
Yeah.
really
He
weird
totally
'cause
has it.
it's really towing the line at appropriation at some point because like
Mhm.
it takes place in like the murder, and a majority of the film takes place inside of this Japanese company where they basically treat it like the Japanese embassy. Like once Sean Connery shows up, he's like, it's just Sean Connery explaining Japanese culture to Wesley Snipes for 2 hours, and it gets really
Yeah.
weird at some
He's almost clairvoyant too. Like he pretty much telegraphs everything that's going to happen, and it just happens exactly like that.
Yeah. He's definitely
he
the
just Connery
weebiest.
ex machina the whole thing.
He does.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a weeb though. So.
This is the
Yeah.
weirdest.
Yeah,
This
he's
is
a
the
week
weirdest-
before.
The
He's way
strangest
too into-
origin story
he's
for
like-
deep fake.
He's yelling at them in Japanese when they're trying to talk to him in English.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know you're trying to prove a point, but it feels like there's a bit of a disconnect here.
I really felt like he went there like twice. And he's
Yeah.
like, I know what it's like to live in Tokyo.
I went to
It's funny,
Japan once.
technically he did go there like once or twice, but he was there for a long time each time.
Right.
So
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
technically you're right.
He lived there. Like
for real, he's
accurate. It's just weird. It's just seeing someone like Sean Connery in that context.
Yeah. And he's a little mansplaining, which is fun, but still disconcerting.
And he like deliberately calls Wesley Snipes the junior cop.
Yeah.
In Japanese, whatever it is.
I
Yeah.
thought they had good chemistry, the two of them.
Despite that,
quality of
yeah.
the movie.
Despite that, I liked the two of them.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny. And even though it's a little weird, I liked Sean Connery's performance. I liked, like you said, the chemistry. Wesley Snipes, I've been becoming a huge fan of because we're almost like going through his filmography. We've seen him pop up a couple times.
This is
whether
him
it's
on
in
the
Blade
rise
film or-
before Blade.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I had heard of him from stuff like Demolition Man, but I never saw any of them. And then when he got huge with Blade, I kept thinking, like, why this guy? Just because I never saw any of it. So I'm kind of appreciative of discovering some of these actors that are sort of just in the 90s. So almost Wesley Snipes is our hidden gem at this point because he had to disappear for a while.
Yeah,
So-
no, everybody forgets about him, but like he's really good. I think it also doesn't help that like later on down the road he got like in trouble for like tax evasion.
That's exactly what does. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's weird. Like he laid low, and I don't know if it's because of that or just like Hollywood just doesn't want to touch him because like, oh no, you're tainted. Like you don't pay your
It
taxes.
sounds like he was
to go
kind
to
of
jail.
a terror on set too, based on stories I heard about the production of like Blade Trinity and stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So he was kind of a prima donna.
Yeah. Though at that point he was kind of like, this is the third one of your franchise. There's a certain leeway you can give, but don't be a complete asshole.
Right.
So I don't know. There's a way to think about like Keanu Reeves in the John Wick series. You don't hear anything about him on set, but I don't know. I still like him in these films that we've been watching.
You notice there's a plot thread in this that I wonder if there's a longer director's cut of this that they completely abandoned. At one point, they're doing surveillance around this party. And Wesley Snipes pauses for a second. He's like, "That's my ex-wife."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that will surely lead somewhere, right?
I
Never
feel like
brought up
that's
again.
just. I think that's just a sneaky way to put backstory in.
It was a weird red herring that went nowhere.
There's that voicemail later that's like, "What are you doing being a criminal now? Like you're fucking up." That's it. I know that should have been more developed. So yeah,
I literally wrote that note when I was watching it. I'm like, let's see if Snipes' ex-wife comes back into play. And
Yeah, just via
No.
phone.
Yeah,
And they don't
just
even explain. They say, "Oh, this is
Well-
Lisa" or something, whatever her actual character name
Yeah.
is.
well, she
And,
comes
you know, you wouldn't know if you weren't really paying attention to her character for
like
the,
over the phone.
seconds
She
she's on.
tries to say that she's taking the kid,
Yeah,
but like we never see her again. So I'm wondering if it's like,
She's just an
know.
obstacle in the movie. It's just weird that they would even have. They like could have cut that out of the movie and it would have made.
right. It must have been filmed somewhere. Maybe there's a confrontation at his house with the kid or something. I don't know. I'm conjecturing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now I kind of want to look up.
Maybe
if
there's more in the book.
scenes.
I don't know.
Oh.
Probably is. I mean, it's always bigger in the book. There's more expansion.
You know this. You know what?
obviously.
You know who really gets a shaft in this movie is Harvey Keitel.
Hmm.
He's like the third leg of the police procedural, and he's just there to be racist.
Yeah. Yeah,
Basically,
pretty much.
he's there to be a real bad lieutenant and say things like, "If I wanted to get mercury, I'd eat a thermometer."
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Although to be fair,
Harvey.
the movie's kind of a little culturally backwards anyway with the Tia Carrera character. I don't know if they were
Oh.
continuing that practice when she was born.
Yeah.
About birth defects.
Yeah.
I
How
think that
did we feel
from
about
what I
that
read,
one?
from what I read about the book, there was a lot of controversy around the depiction of the Japanese in the book. I don't know
Yeah.
if they altered it anymore for the movie, but
I was
I could
was
see
a
why
little
people
iffy
were
on that
upset.
too.
No,
Especially at the beginning of the movie and towards the middle. I was like, oh, what are they getting at with the Japanese here? But
To be totally honest, they're not flattering towards any demographic in this because
No.
later on, when they're being chased, they go into the ghetto, and some of Wesley Snipes' black friends try to deter the villains from following them, and they're basically gang. I think they even call them gangbangers.
Yeah.
No,
They do.
no, it's funny with Tia's character. I brought this up with Tristan. I was like, is it still blackface if they only change her hair and just let her get a little bit tanner? And but like I noticed with like a little lipstick that they made her look a little darker. But like she definitely has like black hair.
Because
And,
she's
like,
Vietnamese, right?
No, she's like
Hawaiian.
Filipino or something, right?
She's Hawaiian.
Hawaiian, yeah.
She's
So
Hawaiian.
like she's Pacific,
Yeah.
she's Pacific Islander, but like she's not actually mixed. Like
Mhm.
yeah. So I had the subtitles on at some point because Sean Connery gets real mumbly in this one, and he's really like
Oh,
everyone's
yeah.
just screaming, and he's just like
Plus, you wanted the plane to know what you were hearing.
right, exactly. But it was the
Yeah.
funniest thing was like when everyone's talking in Japanese, the subtitles just reduced to speaking Japanese. I'm like, really? Because that kind of like increases the.
Yeah.
It does, I know sometimes for effects, they won't put subtitles in because they want there to be that disconnect.
That's what they did this time, for
But-
sure.
Yeah, they did that for the Wesley Snipes character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were we
But
going to say?
obviously he wouldn't be able to understand it, but like you want the audience to kind of like, other than the tone that it was spoken in. I don't know.
Yeah,
Weird to me.
I always wonder these days because you turn something on and the settings on your TV are always different from what they intend. So I'm always worried that I'm missing something and you're 10 minutes in and you were supposed to hear something or read something in this case. And I think it's just, I don't know if that's an American sentiment where we expect to know everything, but sometimes it is to the filmmaker's advantage to hide some of what the other country's people are trying to convey. And then they can do stuff with their eyes, their faces, their looks. I think it was effective here, but obviously if you're on a plane trying to get through it, maybe you'd prefer that,
I mean, I guess it played into, because at the end of the day, this is a murder mystery. So I guess it plays into obscuring things that were said until they need to be revealed later on. Because
I think there should be.
He says things to certain characters that are just like maybe he was hinting at suspicion. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the subtitle world isn't as effective as it could be. The people that make these captions.
Well, no, the thing was though that like if there's I don't know.
I think
If
there
it's
could be
meant to
like
be
a
seen, it
disclaimer,
would
like,
exist on the flame on the film. If
right,
it's not meant to be seen, because obviously the subtitles that I watched were generated by whatever software
right.
platform was playing the movie. If an elevator's gonna talk, I better speak American.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Damn it, Harvey.
Literal quote from the movie. Thanks.
Oh god, everything he says is vile.
Yeah. I thought that was
Pretty on brand for him,
fine.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, moving on.
This is the weirdest origin for deepfake technology.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What is
Oh.
it
Which is still too futuristic even for today.
That
what
was
is it with?
I mean,
it was-
at least when they put it up, they at least like brought it up. Like, yeah, no, you do have to like physically go in and edit, but like you need a human to actually do
The motion, I
Right.
was fine with them switching heads.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But then when they did it in the like the mirror, the motion, I was like,
Yeah.
you couldn't even do that seamlessly now.
No.
yeah, no.
Very funny though,
pretty close.
having all the talks about AI, and they're like, well, you still need a person to edit this.
Well, it was weird because I was thinking, where does the Michael Crichton science fiction aspect come into this? And
Right.
clearly that's
for those. Okay, so that's for those listening at home. Part of the
I never watched this. Yeah.
right part of the. Well, no, I'm just whatever. That part of the movie revolves around someone doctoring a tape, and
Yeah.
it all like a lot of the premise revolves around them using this futuristic video technology that a majority of right now is watching it 30 years later is super outdated.
Yeah. But also somehow a little relevant because of
Right.
deepfake technology.
they call it the gizmo.
No, the gizmo is the just moving the camera within the security room, which is kind of also not really that's sort of
Okay, yeah,
science
I guess
fiction
there's-
as well.
There's a couple examples of technology that are
Yeah, they're flexing on
like
like
I
Jimmy
think they're
said,
just like, oh, it's a
they're
gizmo.
antiquated.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
I guess it also plays
Like
into
a
the fact of
dongle.
the like the backdrop of the politics involved because like the Japanese are like on the edge of breaking technology and developing like new stuff and like one of the things that's going on in the background and it like it comes to the detectives' attention because they kind of have to deal with it a little bit is that like they're in DC there's also like Congress is trying to rather pass whether or not to like sell certain like high tech components to the Japanese because like potentially they could use it for weapons, and the Japanese like no, like legitimately we could use this stuff for like like good and like developing like awesome stuff that doesn't mean war because like they actually bring up how like years prior in the movie how Congress denied the Japanese like certain technologies to sell 1 year and then the next year they're like and they said like it was a matter of national security and then the next year they just sold it to some European country. It's like dude this is like racist and they pointed out it's like this is like bullshit like what the fuck. So like there's that backdrop and like also like there's a senator or a congressman that's involved and like he gets caught tangled up in like the whole murder drama but like he's flipping his votes so like he's like the linchpin on whether this whole deal is able to go down in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, so like
he's the one that they deep fake onto the actual murderer.
yeah, so like there's a lot of just like that's escalating the stakes essentially. So like yeah sure they also have to solve this murder but also they have to take extra care not to ruffle too many feathers or expose too much to the public because like there's also that for the Japanese sensibility but also like they have to take care because like if they screw up like it's just gonna not be good for a whole lot more reasons. Like
it also is interesting. They have several fall guys to try and cover up the murder. There's a couple of red herrings, like with Hiroyuki Tanaka, who is Eddie, who's the guy singing karaoke in the beginning. He's sort of a cool guy that you would assume is seeing the victim in real life, but also ends up sort of taking the fall for her death just so that they can try to throw the cops off.
yeah He's also kind of like a playboy, rich kid that hangs out with
Right.
the Yakuza, kind of just like does shady stuff, but like he's still a little bit of a daddy's boy.
Yeah.
There's
Sort
a
of.
kamikaze car chase scene that has the most combustible car I've ever seen in my life outside of a Pinto.
Also, I kind of like that they do it off screen so they don't have to film a big car explosion. It's in the glasses. It's in the screen. I think that's kind of clever because then you don't have to spend all your budget on a massive explosion. It's kind of like, we didn't get him. He just died.
He just blew up.
It's kind of innovative in my opinion.
Okay.
It's different. Also disappointing because I thought he was the best character, but
right. He usually is in most of these movies.
Yeah, Tanaka's a good actor.
He's the best part of combat.
Yeah, especially like if your exposure is like Mortal Kombat or recently, oh my god, that show we just talked.
He's the best part of The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, there's also that. Like if your concept of him is like that stoic, stern, or like gruff, mean Asian guy. Like here, he's like the complete opposite. He's jokey, kiddie, like kind of like he has a temper. Like he's a young guy, and acting kind of just like with that kind of bravado of a young rich kid that again hangs out with the Yakuza and just does whatever.
Yeah, I liked him the most. I think as usual.
Yeah, he was very colorful in this.
Yeah. So I was kind of disappointed. That second half, I'm like, bring Eddie back.
And it's funny because like he's the one with the most expressive face out of the whole cast too.
Yeah, it's true.
Agreed.
Jimmy and I are obviously fans.
Oh yeah, no, he's great. I love him.
No, he's good.
For listening.
I don't know if I've seen stuff.
Oh yeah, and Johnny Tsunami. He was the grandpa. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. You ever watch Johnny Tsunami, Jeff?
No. Okay. I cannot say that I have.
Oh, so good. A surfer becomes a skateboarder? What?
He's in the Phantom. You love the Phantom, Corey.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, sure.
No, I do love the Phantom.
Is he the villain? I've never seen it.
No, True Williams is the villain.
Oh.
And James Remar. Maybe we'll get to it.
Oh, is that a spoiler?
Maybe we'll talk about it. No, it's not a spoiler.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of want to do that one when we get to 96. I've never seen it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Also, cramming Japanese tropes into this. Of course, someone pulls out a katana during a fight scene.
Yeah. I like that. Whenever you have Sean Connery in a movie, you always have to have a scene where he intimidates people despite his frail age. Like he goes to the front door and he totally takes down this henchman who's like twice his size.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, it's getting a little implausible now.
Like he clears a whole apartment of intruders too.
Yeah.
It was also
off screen, but like
I will say that was a very good red herring too, because like the woman in the beginning died of a strangulation, and then at that point you're like, that police officer is really good at knocking the wind out of people. Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, it was a very good like murder mystery. So
okay, that was literally what I was about to ask. How did you feel about the actual mystery, the red herrings and everything?
I thought the whole
the result.
The pace of escalation and how dire things are getting is like nice. I think it's good.
See, I like that part. I knew it was preposterous, but I still liked the exploration despite itself.
Yeah,
I think that goes towards Wesley and Sean's chemistry more than anything else. You wanted to see them figure it out, whether it was realistic or not.
Yeah, the movie stayed interesting. So like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Kind of check your brain at the door about like any logistical loopholes that this murder has.
One character arc that I like that they broached it, but they didn't explore it to the extent that I would have liked is that Wesley Snipes' character took a bribe.
Mm-hmm.
And
they peppered that in rather than making it the point of his character.
Not quite resolved. It's kind of brushed away. I kind of actually maybe explored that a little more, like in the third act. Maybe there would have been consequences.
Yeah.
So I feel like there were consequences because like that's why. Because this stuff was taken care of, and now it's coming back to light, and now his wife is finding out, and that's why she wants to take the kid.
Right. That's
So
why
that
they're
was
using it as
Yeah.
the reason he's the chosen to handle this, because
Yeah.
then if he breaks good, they can use that as blackmail. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
And
you know
also-
what's another good thing, interesting and fun part about this movie? I didn't realize the first half of the movie was actually a flashback until the third of the way in, where
Oh,
it
you
was
know
like
what?
all of a sudden interrupted, and like he's going to like a interview with like the police chief and like everybody, and it's like, wait, what's going on?
that stuff,
That's a
yes.
Yeah.
pet peeve. I hate that.
Oh
I
yeah,
hate
I
that
mean, I
framing.
was okay with it.
I
Like,
didn't
that was
need
fine.
it.
And then like
It's
once
unnecessary.
when it got caught up to that like that interview, then that's like a good way to know like, okay, this is the like the this is the we're getting to the climax.
I'm
And
not
then,
saying
like,
I'm
from
smarter
there-
than you. I'm just saying I knew that that's what they were doing from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was just like, I hate when they do flashbacks
Yeah, no,
like
exactly.
that,
But like,
because then
I
you
had
know
something
exactly
then.
where it's headed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that leads into back into my pacing. Like once when I put that together, when I realized, oh yeah, the first half is gonna be a flashback. So like I expect, like I
Mhm.
knew what to kind of get ready for eventually.
Did you
Yeah.
want that though?
So I didn't have to think about it.
There you go. There's a punch for doing that in films. I
Yeah.
don't love it when it happens, but I don't really hate it. I sort of forgot it was part of the film because that's
They
sort
kind of just intersperse it wherever they want.
forgettable. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't really.
Because like the thing is like with when you have that in like a mystery, like once when you get to the like the middle where the time catches up, that's where you should have all the clues and like evidence where like you have something to like piece together yourself, but like it's not quite there because the rest of the movie still needs to go on and they need to catch the bad guy.
I think the best example of that is Usual Suspects
Yeah.
because of the whole thing of it. Obviously, we
different.
won't spoil it in case Jeff hasn't seen it, but you learn things as you go along, and it's just the framework rather than the like in this, they're peppering that in, and it could be they get to a certain point like the kamikaze death, and they're like, well, you didn't expect this to happen, and then you find out, oh, maybe that guy's still alive and he's in the room or something. Like it might have some effect on the actual plot, but you could excise that stuff with the guy interviewing him and it would never change,
Right.
or just do it in order. So sometimes that doesn't really work, but
I can see why I'd probably work in a novel as like
yeah,
the beginning of a chapter. But
I
then
do
in
see
the,
what you say, Jimmy, but
Hmm.
what were you about to say, Jeff?
nothing. I just got my mind blown because I didn't know Philip Kaufman was involved in the writing of the Indiana Jones movies.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. I didn't know how to
he got
organically.
his story by
Yeah, he helped write it.
Actually, they wanted him to direct the first one, but they didn't think he had
Mhm.
enough directorial efforts under his belt in order to do it. So got
I'm trying to
Spielberg.
think what he had at that point. Well, he had the Great Northfield, Minnesota raid. He'd redone Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but the other films I'd never heard of that he'd done before that. Then he does The Right Stuff, and that's after Raiders. So
Invasion of the Body Snatchers is great.
yeah, I like that one. He does
Right
fine.
Stuff is hot take, kind of boring.
I don't love it, but I can see why people like it, and that's his biggest film for sure. I just saw Henry in June and didn't love it, so I wonder if he just is kind of dull. So maybe
Yeah,
it's-
because I watched
maybe it's better that he
Unbearable
didn't do
Lightness of
Raiders.
Being, and that's kind of boring.
I'm worried about Quills. Oh well,
Wills is really good.
yeah.
What's that Ashley Judd movie that
Twisted.
awful?
Twisted.
I feel like this movie and that movie are probably like Gun for Hire
hmm
jobs.
Yeah,
So
this
it's like-
actually might be my favorite thing he's done, though.
Wow.
So, I mean, like we said, Right Stuff is a little boring. So,
We fell asleep watching that.
I think it just goes on too long.
Starts off great.
Real interested in Sam Shepard's Chuck Yeager. Would have just watched a movie about him.
Right.
But then we had to watch the Apollo program.
The training sequences go on forever.
That's really what kills it. Like they're going into all the minutia, so as if they're never going to make another astronaut film.
Probably would have been better as a miniseries nowadays.
It definitely would have been. And he ends up doing Hemingway and Gellhorn, which I hear was good. So I probably would like that. The Clive Owen playing
Yes.
Hemingway movie.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe if he'd been a little younger, he could have made the right stuff in the 90s or even today.
Right.
Actually, they remade it, in fact, for Disney. So
The right stuff?
I believe so. Didn't they remake it with a couple of the guys from like Everybody Wants Some? Pretty sure.
I don't know.
Pretty sure. Anyway, this is TV series, American drama limited run series from 2020.
That was probably pretty good then.
Probably not. Jake McDorman was in it as Alan Shepard. He was on that show Limitless, like the adaptation of Limitless. I like him. It's all these guys you've seen in shows that like you wouldn't know their name, but
Doesn't mean they're bad.
yeah, they're all decent actors. One of the guys from Mad Men that I like was one of the astronauts. Oh yeah, okay. See, I like Philip Kaufman's direction for this, but you'd be right that he was just a gun for hire. You can't help that sometimes.
No,
Even if you're a gun for hire, you could still shoot well. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I liked the film. I actually do think after talking about how his pacing isn't always on, this might go on a few minutes too long. Maybe you could tighten it up a little bit in the middle, just because of all the red herrings. Maybe because of that flashback stuff.
Right.
But that also harkens back to Crichton's writing. Like this isn't probably even in his top 10 novels, right?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Yeah. But it was.
I think you weren't even surprised when you did the research to even know that he wrote this.
I forgot. Like I must have known back when I was younger. Like, oh, another one came out around Jurassic Park, but just forgotten. I went to my shelf and I don't own it even. Right. So, because I have a couple books I never got around to.
Well, it's perfect for us because it's as Jeff would say, two good guys in a bad situation.
Two guys in a bad.
That's our formula for the show.
Yeah. They were almost framed.
The formula for like every movie ever, apparently.
The formula for life.
Yeah.
Two moderately okay guys in a pretty weird fucking situation.
One clairvoyant Scotsman.
How did we feel about Tia Carrere ending up as the woman behind the curtain in his?
I didn't understand that she had a pre-existing relationship with Sean Connery and that he was right. Isn't that the hint of that?
I guess like it's a clever way to show aspect of Japanese culture and cinema, and that like the woman must be subdued and submissive and in the background and just kind of there.
He was really into the Japanese culture, even every little detail.
Mix that with the American like noir detective genre where like women just are, murdered.
Secretaries are victims.
Yeah, like the sexy vixen must die.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they try to make her look intellectual by giving her glass.
Well, it was really that's another thing with we're talking about the reflection with the explosion. The reflection in her glasses when she's rewatching the tape of the woman being raped and murdered. Like that was intense. And that's like, that was one of the better shots, I think.
That's why I think Kaufman has a good eye.
Yeah,
he knows how to film stuff, even if his heart isn't entirely in it. I think it was for this. But
it was just, I don't know. When she gets in, I have a tendency to, when you're watching a crime show and then the tech person comes in, starts explaining jargon and just yells enhance all the time, I start to tune out, but kept my interest in this one.
Yeah.
Weird, because around this time she had done the Wayne's World movies, so it seems like she's this movie almost feels like it's an introducing Tia Carrere. Like,
it's trying to.
You know what I mean?
Here's another side of her, at least.
I guess.
Yeah, this obviously didn't help her career. Yeah, it's a shame. She was almost on Baywatch.
Interesting.
That would have been cool. Yeah, that would have been cool. It might have been like one of my favorite actresses if that was the case. I was big into Baywatch after around this time.
You're big into Baywatch Nights.
Listen, it might have been on in my house. I'm not going to call my father out, but it was on a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your dad's a beachcomber, so that's why.
He really liked David Hasselhoff singing. That's really what it was. So he just wanted to support one of his favorites.
He likes anything where a character's named BJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BJ was the best. Very cool.
That's why he's a big fan of BJ and the Bear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I would grade this probably A minus. I actually really like this.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a solid A. Just yeah.
Yeah.
What a shocker.
Dicey.
You gave it an A?
Well, I mean, it's a
was
little
gonna
bit
say.
dicey in some parts, and like other things I could just overlook. It's like, okay, all right, I'll just give you an A.
Yeah. I might be biased for the fact that I'm getting to become a fan of Wesley Snipes, and I've always liked Sean Connery, but
I'd probably give it a C.
mm-hmm.
I thought it was ludicrous and disjointed, and that framing device didn't help things.
What a surprise.
It was really unnecessary. I felt like I would almost rather they just did a straight formulaic buddy cop movie with the two of them instead of all this Japanese espionage and intrigue, because it's at odds with the movie at times.
It's
It feels like the movie's trying to do way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much with this scant runtime that they have.
Yeah. I wonder, because if it's just a generic buddy cop movie, does it hit well?
I mean, for me, this kind of that whole like the whole like political like thing, blah blah blah, happened in the back. That kind of just leans in from my perspective of like just Japanese things, especially like it kind of similar in regards to Gundam, because that happens a lot in Gundam, and it gets on my nerves. But like sometimes you just like thing outside of Gundam, it's like, all right, okay, it's not that bad. Just like that nonsensical extra political mumbo jumbo. It's like, all right, yeah, it kind of gives it a little weight in the real world. So
yeah, even if it's kind of
but like it gives it a little like extra weight.
There's nothing realistic
or fluff,
movie. Especially Sean Connery's wig.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a wig.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot he's pretty much bald by now.
He also wasn't wearing pants when they were driving.
Oh, right, that's this movie.
That's this movie.
Hell yes.
Here's a tip. Sean Connery showed Wesley Snipes. He's like, look, son, if they're only filming you from the waist up, you don't have to wear pants. So I guess during the driving scenes where he's in the passenger seat, he's not wearing pants.
But he's got underwear on, right?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, or at least he's a Scotsman. He should be wearing a kilt.
It's free and easy, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I like the breeze between my legs.
It's a little Jimmy Stewart right there.
A little bit.
Scottish Jimmy Stewart.
What Jeff?
Yeah. What would you grade it?
B.
Right in the middle.
It was split the difference here. It was great. It was well crafted, a little cringe at points, but
yeah, Harvey.
And then the sound design gave me issues because I'm just like, I know he's supposed to be soft spoken, but
no, we kept having to turn it up.
But yeah, there was no the mix between their two vocals was really pissing me off.
Yeah.
Who did the mix? Christopher Nolan?
Right. No, that would have just been like, bah.
Well, I forgot. Another reason why I want to give this movie just a solid A is because we get to see Mako perform.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mako?
Yeah, or Mako. I don't know. I've heard both, and I can't pick. Like, I can't seem to settle on whichever. But like, I know in
Treasure,
The Legend of Korra, Avatar, I'm pretty sure they say Mako, right?
I think so.
So I'm going based on that.
He's in TMNT, right? 3.
He's in one.
He's in the first animated one, the one that came out in 2007,
and also like the voice of Aku for like Samurai Jack. So like getting to see him like in other roles other than like
it's Mako actually.
Oh, Mako. Okay, it's Mako.
Yeah.
All right. Like the shark, Mako. God, no, I forgot. Okay, whatever. So yeah, getting to see him perform, like go from that like that stern Japanese businessman that's could be like shrewd, like he's at the business table, going from that like solid performance, and then like when he's like at the bar scene later, or the Japanese bar scene, because they're drinking sake. He does like the typical like at the end of the business day, like well, it's just like that sign. Then you see him relax and talking more candidly, which is like a good like balance to his like a solid demeanor from before.